All right, dark greetings, everyone. I am here with Brennan Renwick. Uh, my great pleasure to sit down with an editor from Tales from the Outlander Club, our second anthology in the series is going to be our focus today. Um, so, so Brennan, care to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into Star Wars?
Yeah, I Star Wars has kind of been with me for years. I think everyone would say that. I grew up with it. My dad showed me the films when I was probably like 6 years old, somewhere in there. And gradually, the natural progression was, of course, yearning for more and finding the expanded universe. So on my grandma's iPad, I was tapping away on Wikipedia, finding out about all these obscure Jedi who survived Order 66. That was my super intense focal point for a while. I was like, that was my in. I was very interested in that. I found out about people like Quinlan Voss and stuff like that, and my next progression was going to the library and finding like the Republic comics, and that was a
Oh,
big in
nice.
right there for me into the EU. And then I went to Barnes and Noble with my grandmother in 2017, and so I would have been 11 years old, and she bought me Star Wars Scourge, with
Interesting.
Commander Zuma, and that was my first ever EU novel. And I'd be lying if I said I wasn't confused for half of it. But there was one key thing I noticed, and I noticed that it was set after Return of the Jedi, and Luke had a Jedi
Barely.
Academy. Luke had a
Yep.
Jedi Academy that survived. And so I had just seen The Last Jedi in theaters, and his Jedi Academy did not survive. So I was like, what's going on here? And so I looked it up and found out there were two continuities, and I was like, I think I like the one where Luke's a hero. And so I decided to go with that one, and I haven't looked back, I
Huh.
guess.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's a pretty young age to be getting into the adult novels.
Yeah, yeah, it took me a long time to finish it, I remember. It was a grueling
Yeah.
read, and there was definitely some content in Scourge even that was probably not good for an 11, 12-year-old. It
Yeah,
dealt with a
there's
lot
some
of
drug stuff.
yeah, lots of drug stuff, lots of, like, prostitution stuff with, like,
Oh
slaves
yeah.
and huts and all of that kinda stuff, but, hey,
Yeah,
I guess I'd already seen Return of the Jedi, and that was
that's
kind of
fair.
alluded to in Jabba's palace, I guess, but
Yeah.
it was a pretty good read.
Yeah, so you were already so you're getting into the EU then, um maybe later than some of the rest of us. So
Oh, yeah, certainly.
as ReExpanded was starting up, you were sort of a little bit of a newer EU fan, although
Yeah.
you delved in, you clearly caught up pretty quickly from there.
No social life during COVID was very crucial in me catching up to the rest of everyone. I think I'd read all the adult novels by 24. So it took me like 7 years, and I owe that completely to being locked in to my house, and I just started grinding on the novels, and, I didn't really know where to go else from the novels and comics. I've never been a gamer, so I didn't really know that there was all these connections until I discovered probably Matt Wilkins on YouTube in, like, 2019.
Mhm.
He would talk about sometimes, "Oh, this connects to a game," and so then I started buying game consoles just to play Star Wars games because I kind of wanted more. So I think I'd read there's a few things I haven't read. There's a few short stories here and there that I still haven't read, and there's some short comics that I've not read. But I think I've read most of it at least once by about 2024. So it took me about 7 years of pretty constant week in and week out, just grinding, I guess.
Wow.
And yeah, I started collecting it as I went along because it felt like the best way to do it, and got lucky with some scores at the secondary market. Um,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many people can say that. I mean, even I haven't. There's kind of books that just never really seemed
There's
interesting
some
to me.
stinkers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. at some point it's that seems like you got to be doing that for the sake of completion and not just to enjoy the books.
Yeah,
But
I will say it was a s ugh, it was so arduous to make my way through Children of the Jedi or Planet of Twilight or there's
yeah,
a few that are just not good.
Children of the Jedi felt that way for me too, because I was reading that in preparation for Legends Con, because Hambly was there. I was like, I got to
Right.
do a little bit of homework.
It was homework for you.
It was homework.
Yeah.
So then, uh, so then ReExpanded, did you come to the project totally through Tales from, pretty much?
I'd been aware of it. Nick, I knew him through the servers.
Yep,
He might have even been in a group chat on Instagram that I was active in a long time ago. I think that's where he recruited Lance Liebrock for it.
sure.
And so he was active in a bunch of the discords I was in, and I thought, oh, this is a really nice guy. And then he told me about the project he was doing, and it's pretty soon afterwards I joined, but I muted the notifications. So I was in there for a while, didn't really
Yep,
know what was going on. I knew that we were kind of picking the stories that we wanted to be the backbone of it at the time. So I knew there was like discussion of will we include Hand of Thrawn, will we not? There's kind of that was going on in the early stages, and then he decided to include it, and he was adding to the spreadsheet. And so I remember thinking, oh, this is really cool. There wasn't a lot of writing going on at that point, so I was kind of checked out of it. And I really was not involved in any way until he sent me a message and asked about Tales from the Boon to Eve Classic, and that really reeled me in because it was a chance to write something for it. And I was really excited about just the collaborative nature of it, all of these authors coming together, super unique. And I always thought that prequel tales were a really big missed opportunity in the EU. So it was just two things that I thought were really fun: community and filling in a gap for the actual EU. So that really pulled me in. And so I'd say I'd been around, and I think I'd left the server eventually because I was going through some stuff in real life, and I had to leave a bunch of Discord servers I was in. So I would say that Tales from was definitely my main entry point, even though I'd kind of been aware of it.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, that seems like the case with a lot of people that we recruit for these stories, that they aren't super into the rest of the re-expanded world. There's a few that go in the reverse, where they're, they start with re-expanded and then kind of hook up with Tales. But for the most part, it really seems like a kind of an accessible way
Yeah.
to get new people into the project as well. So you did Bull's Brewer for Boon to Eve,
Yes.
and then a little bit with Source, I believe, for
That's
Quinlan
right.
Voss.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
your namesake.
My namesake, yeah, I was super excited when, Nick shot me a message that there was a bit that the author was kind of he was at a writer's block with it, he wasn't sure how to proceed. So I was really honored when I got the message where it was like, "Do you wanna write it?" I was thinking, "Wait a minute, this is my favorite character." I got really excited, I really enjoyed getting to write him a little bit. I think I kinda stayed away from the character when, um there was all the discussion of who we were gonna write because I almost felt like I wasn't worthy to write my favorite character, like I wouldn't do him justice, you know?
Sure.
And so I think I was hesitant at first, but then when I read the bulk of the story, I was like, "Okay, I can write a fight scene here. I think I can make that work." And so I kinda wrote the fight scene near the end, in communication with the author, Tuck West, I
Yep.
believe, was the author for that one, and I thought he did a really great job having Quinlan fight Aura Singh on Tatooine. Actually, is a really genius way to kind of explain kind of why he's there. He's on this secret mission there with. I was surprised that Isla's on the planet. That was an interesting touch. To think that Isla Sakura is in the background on Tatooine during Phantom,
Yeah.
just kind of crazy.
Yeah, I can't remember what exactly he did to have her not be on screen
Yeah,
for the moment where,
I
because
think she
he
was
wrote the
following a
moment where
lead
like Quinlan
elsewhere.
and sees Qui-Gon and gives him a
Yep.
nod or whatever, and they're both like, "Yeah, we're okay. We don't need each other's help."
Yeah.
Um,
That was a nice scene. I thought
yeah,
it was a good touch.
yeah. I don't remember, but yeah, he came up with some way to have Ayla not be visible
I
and
think that was
explain that.
faithful to the Republic comics as well, because I remember there was an arc where Quinlan was talking with Obi-Wan about how he locked eyes with Qui-Gon on Tatooine and that he was having regrets that he didn't like step in. Like maybe if I'd been a part of it, Qui-Gon wouldn't have died. And
Hmm.
so that there was an allusion to that in one of the, I think it was Dreadnoughts of Randelli, when they had like a heart to heart when Obi-Wan was like, "Hey, you're going too dark, buddy." And they kind of talked about their early days, their formative years, how much Quinlan loved Qui-Gon. So I thought Tuck did a good job in like building off of that scene. It seemed intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, so trying to get a little bit on track then towards our main focus in Outlander Club. You started off with Hat Low for
Yeah.
that one. Is that right?
Yep.
Was your original plan to be your character? So that was a pretty fun story, and I don't think I don't think anybody would have really expected as like your first thought with a Hat Low story as this is going to be the Abdi Bidowsi backstory. So
Yeah.
where in the world did that one come from?
Yeah, so I had chosen Hat Low because I thought he was kind of a meme. Just the fact that his name was Hat Low and he was like low to his hat, his headpiece. I just thought it was hilarious, and he was just such a goofy looking character where I was like, "What's his story?" And then as I was kind of in like investigating it a little bit, I was like, "Wait, he has some connections." The data bank articles and everything that was available about him kind of inferred that he was kind of well connected. And so I was like, I should build this out and have him have like this little empire where there's fun nods to various parts of the Star
Yeah,
Wars universe. And then I was thinking, I want to tie this into some West End games gangster of some kind. And so I was thinking about how to do that. I was considering different people. I remember I had like two or three different West End Games era pirate smuggler types. And I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to use, and I was trying to figure out which one felt natural. And as I was refreshing my memory with the various West End Games characters, Abdi Bidowsi stuck out to me because he canonically had a daughter later on, and I was like, wait, this could be motivation if I flip this right to where in his younger days he's on Coruscant, but he finds out that the game's a bit too intense for him here, and he needs to
yeah,
relocate. And so I thought that was a good avenue to kind of explain a little bit of his backstory. And also, he's just such a super cool character, just this ruthless, obsidian skinned Twi'lek. He's just an interesting character. And so I thought it would be cool to use him there for the backdrop. I don't know. I think it kind of worked out in the end.
yeah. There's kind of a fun contrast between him and Hat Low,
Yeah.
where he's definitely the more ruthless of the two.
Yep.
And right, and you see with Hat Low that he's got this weird kind of fear of blood.
Yep.
Um, Definitely not the kind of thing I would have expected to see from a gangster. So that was really interesting to kind of watch play out where like he's totally okay with doing all these sketchy things and having people die, but he absolutely hates to be the one to do it or see it.
Yep.
That was kind of an interesting little twist. I don't know if there's any other like gangster like that in Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that kind of stemmed from me thinking he might have had a bit of a Napoleon complex, which is he's like this little guy, so he plays really tough to everyone, but actually he's really squeamish. And
Yeah,
so I thought that would be an interesting angle to kind of be a physical manifestation of like kind of the anxiety he feels. Like in the whole story, he's just stressing out of his mind. Like it's kind of inferred that his hairline's just receding from stress. He's just like always in over his head, but like he puts on this bold face and acts high and mighty and important to everyone. And like he's always the one in control of the chessboard when he's actually kind of winging it and
yeah,
stressing himself to death the whole time. So I kind of thought that that would be a good physical way to show his anxiety. The fact that just the sight of blood makes him squeamish. And actually, Mortis wrote the I Vita tale, which ties heavily into mine. And she had this brilliant idea, I thought, to write him as not even liking the sight of wine. So he won't drink wine because it reminds him of blood. He drinks white wine. And so then
Huh.
I lifted that and mentioned that as well in my story, to connect back to hers. But I thought that was genius. That
Yeah.
the fear of blood transcended blood and also went to just things that reminded him of it. I thought it was just fun that added so many layers to his
Yeah.
his
Yeah,
phobia, I guess.
I forgot about that bit. That's an interesting extension too. And then at the same time, like in the whole story, it's from his perspective, and you can see how just haughty he is. I
Yep.
thought there's some really funny lines where he's just like he's so over the top about praising himself.
Oh yeah.
The two I wrote down were being the genius intellect that he was, and due to his own dazzlingly superior memory. Those
Yep.
those lines, and then you contrast it, and he's, just can't handle these kind of
Yeah.
seemingly basic things that come with his job.
I ended up really liking his character as I was writing it. I was just like the whole time I was like, "This guy's ridiculous. This guy's
He
so
is.
egotistical and he can't even back it up." So, I had
Yeah.
just a lot of fun, like, playing around with his character. I feel like he'll be I he's really fun. I'd like to see him, like it was really fun seeing him pop up in a story that isn't out yet,
Oh
that
yeah.
you might have penned. I really enjoyed your characterization of
Oh,
him there.
thanks.
It's
Yes.
fun seeing him pop up in other stories here and there.
See, Hat Low for me, the other thing is he was for the longest time this like sort of Mandela effect, where I was just convinced that he was a Nemoidian. And
Mm.
there's so many reasons it's so stupid. One, like the whole personality, like would totally fit a Nemoidian.
Oh,
Like the way
yeah,
you write him,
certainly.
100%. And then second, the fact his name's Hat, and the Nemoidians always wear hats.
Yep,
And then
that's so fair.
third, my introduction to Hat Low was in the Boba Fett books, the young Boba Fett junior
Yep,
novels. He was
yep.
in there. I don't know if it was, I think it's either the first or the sixth book. The
I think
ones
it's
where
the
Boba Fett's on
s
Coruscant.
Yeah, I think it's the 6th where he's like,
It
Boba's
might be
looking for
both.
arms. Was that right?
Yeah. It might
Yeah.
be both. He might have shown up there. But then that one also had a Nemoidian crime lord in the series.
Mm,
In the middle, and the one on Tatooine, I think it's the fourth book, Boba
yeah.
Boba kills that Nemoidian crime lord. So I somehow got those two confused. And then
Those
just
Boba
like,
Fett books are fun.
yeah.
They're fun reads.
And then like so many Nemoidians, like they have those short, like one syllable names.
Yeah,
So it all just like fit, where in my mind that was like Hatlo, the Nemoidian
the
crime lord.
Nemoidian. I mean,
So
Yimo, like, right
yeah,
there, just
yeah, it like
short
it
name that's just like it.
yeah, yeah, and it just it something about it kind of fit.
Yeah,
So
I totally see it.
I don't know how to ever use that information. Maybe he's got to have like a Nemoidian
Doppelganger. He's got a
a decoy
bodyguard
or
double.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of like how Jabba has Lojug like claiming to be
Yes.
Jabba,
And we can
even
make
though
it
it's
to where Hatlo thinks every gangster has to do that because he sees that Jabba's doing it. So he's like, hey, all the big shots have their decoys.
he
And so
would.
he just hires some rando Neomoidian. That would be funny.
He would. Oh,
He
now I want
would.
to edit my opera.
Oh no, we're gonna add like 3, 4 pages just off of that.
No, it'll be all the same stuff. Well, no, it'll be the exact same tale, and then there'll be just like one line where it refers to Hatlo as being a
As in
Nemoidian, and
yeah, and then
everybody's
everyone's
gonna
like,
read
"What?"
it. This guy doesn't have any idea what he's talking about.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, so Hatlo was a fun character, fun story. Um, I remember you maybe indulged in him a little bit too much, where
Yeah.
there was that the ending got really long on the
Yep.
original. Do you remember what the last bit was? Because there's a pretty significant chunk of that, a few pages that we ended up cutting out
Yeah,
of the final tale.
I think it was 2 or 3 pages, and I definitely overindulged in it. It was the right move from the editors to, suggest taking it out. I think it definitely strengthened the content of the story and the ending itself. Basically, I'd overindulged it in the fact that I don't think it was actually the ending, but it was, like, right before the ending, so kinda after the climax and
Yes.
before the, like,
It felt
epilogue
like an ending,
type of
and
bit.
then there was
Yeah.
just another ending.
Yep, yep. I did the Lord of the Rings ending, by having just 7 endings. He basically it was just tying up another loose end, which I didn't really need to. There was I think he was a Markurth, um, informant
McCurth.
aide.
Yeah.
He's the reptilian with the horns, and so I'd kind of established that, he was telekinetic and had great hearing and was associated with Black Sun. And so Hatlo was like, "I've got to go get this guy. I'm gonna get vengeance."
Oh
And
yeah.
Badowski was like, "You better kill him." And so then he mentioned how he'd deal with him later. And I think that's better. Like that leaves more to the imagination, leaves more
Yeah.
threads for the reader to enjoy toying around with. And instead, in my original edit, I just went out and told the full story where he goes,
And
tracks him down, has his thugs beat him up, and then
they
turns
talked for
away
a
and
while.
yeah, they talk for a while. And then he basically just turns around and lets them end him
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he
because he
doesn't want to
wouldn't
do it
want to see
himself.
it.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think that was unnecessary, and it was a good decision for it to be cut.
Yeah. So the ending we did get was kind of surprising then, as we suddenly brought in Curran Caladian from
Yes.
Last of the Jedi is where I know of him.
Yep,
He
same.
might have shown up in some other stuff. Um, and then that one uh was the main part of that to just was it always in mind that that was going to be a setup for your opera house?
Yep.
Yeah.
I figured it would be a I love Curran so much because 'cause I'm a big I know some people don't like Last of the Jedi, but I'm a huge Last of the Jedi fan, and Curran's, Sviv Rennie, I don't know how to pronounce it,
Yep.
Sviv Rennie, I'm guessing, such a cool species, really cool
Yeah.
looking species, and so I was really excited about, putting him in there, and I just love his character, I think he's a really interesting one, and so I figured that he would have the connections, and so to connect a gangster to a politician, an upper level socialite in Coruscant, I figured he'd kind of be a natural bridge between the worlds. And he was also someone that I wanted to write. So I definitely used it as an avenue to connect to the Teta story. Because as I was writing Teta, I was like, maybe it would be fun to connect all three of the stories together. And so I was like scratching my head trying to figure out how I could do it. And so Curran Caladian kind of became a natural bridge
Hmm.
to set that up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a little sad. I liked him in Last of the Jedi where I felt kind of it felt a little sad to see him involved with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
but but I don't know, maybe he was always sketchier than I remembered.
Yeah, he ended
'Cause
up with the, oh, what do they
he
call them? The Jetsters people.
yeah,
What are they?
was that the Erased?
They're erased. Yep,
Yep.
there it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
the erased.
Yeah. Yeah, but I did think Svivreni are a cool species too. I was able to feature them for a chapter or so in Besieged, having one of those as the
Nice.
POV character. Um,
Yeah.
they're
This
they're they're
Besiege has a lot of fun species show up.
It when I could, it does. It's pretty limited in scope as a story, where basically the whole thing, with the exception of well, with the exception of a couple chapters, it's basically all on Bandemir. So that sort of limited it. There's a whole lot of Mirians in that, um, but just not a ton of other like opportunities to include cool species.
That's fair.
Uh, there's some Fiorans, there's this Vivreni, there's maybe some Mirian hammerheads.
Mm.
Um, who did yeah, there now I'm blanking. Oh, there's Immune. That's not very
Oh,
obscure
nice.
though. Yeah.
They're cool
Yeah,
though.
I um yeah, I do like to include obscure species in my stories as we both do. Maybe that's a good um kind of tie a bridge or segue is the word I'm looking for from low to Volvan rocks. So you really went all out on these obscure species where I thought I was kind of the re-expanded species expert, and all of a sudden I was having to look up about half a dozen species per one of your short stories. So I wrote these down as I was going back through. And you had some other species, but that were more common. It wasn't all obscure, but in Hatlow's Tale alone, you had Elzarian, Moskyve, Mostla, Balanaka, Shawl, Murashon, Trome, McCurth, Gamnenoit, Mriss, and Abugarti. And then
Yeah.
over in Volvan Rocks, you had Harakians, and not just in cameos as basically some of the main characters. And then Caduman, Taylor Tai, Penurquian, Rodisar, Carthasian, Adarian, Cragmaloid, Daimlo, Howlwoof, and I believe you invented the Doxonian species.
That's right. I have
Is
a
that right?
story about that one. Yeah. I think my love for obscure species stemmed from some of my earlier days, probably like 2018, 2019. I just bought Alien Encounters from West End Games,
Ooh,
which was a species guide that had some. Actually, that's where the Balanaka comes from. Um,
yeah, that sounds right.
which is the polar bear guys. I just thought
Yep.
there's sentient polar bears in Star Wars. That is the coolest thing I could have ever imagined. And so I really ended up loving them. And so what I did is I had just a spiral bound notebook, and I would just write species down in my spare time. I would just do it for fun. I'd write their planet. I'd write like their traits, and I just there's so many misspellings because I was younger, but I'd go through Wikipedia. I'd go through the Wizards of the Coast species guide, Alien Encounters.
Yep.
I'd go through the complete encyclopedia, and anytime I saw a species, I'd just write it
Yeah.
down. It was
Galaxy
it was
guides.
my it was a hobby. I just loved doing it.
Yeah.
Um, and so the progression of that is when I started writing these stories, I was like, here's where I can give love to those species that were only mentioned like, one or two times in the EU because that's one of my issues is when you have a species and on like a known world and they don't show up in other stuff. I'm like they should. It's a big
Should.
galaxy and Coruscant's such a hub of activity. So if there's anywhere where there's going to be so many species, it's going to be the capital where everyone's
Yeah.
flocking to for one reason or another. So it was really fun to include a bunch of those obscure ones. And with the Doxonians, when I was a kid, my brother for my birthday drew me a Star Wars picture of a Jedi, but he made the Jedi my dog. My dog's a dachshund, and he's a dapple dachshund. So he's got the big ears like this, and he's black and white spotted, and he's a hound, so he's got the long snout. And so he made a Jedi Dachsonian. He called it a
Huh.
Dachsonian on my birthday, and so I just thought it would be fun for myself to slide that one in there because I have that framed somewhere
Interesting.
back home. So
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to get them in the complete species guide.
yeah, I'd really you are a great person to work on that with because you have some genius connections where you tie species together. And honestly, I'm really excited to, like, work on that one, and I think we
Yeah.
could get it accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be that's an interesting project where I don't know where that falls on the priorities with between well, or between the Tales anthologies kind of picking up and uh the How Liberty Dies stuff.
Mhm.
I don't know exactly how much time I can commit to that.
Yeah,
But
same for me.
I've
It's
been
on the
working
back
on
burner for now, but
I've been working on that species guide since I oh boy. Um I've got this notes I wrote up somewhere. There it is. I've got it on my Google Drive. February 27th, 2016. Oh, we just had the 10-year anniversary and I didn't
how
even
about
know.
that? 10
February
years on the
27th,
grind.
2016. Using Notability, I created a document entitled Species Stats, which would eventually become Complete Species Guide version 1. Um, because I was playing Edge of the Empire and I had the core rule book and
Mm,
Dangerous Covenants. So the core rule book had 8 species, Dangerous Covenants had 3. So I wanted to have more than 11 species. So I would find these versions of people who had like wrote down what was in these other books that I hadn't bought, and I was
mm,
just writing down RPG stats so that I could make different characters. Um, and then I started wanting to print them, and then I started thinking like, well, it would be really frustrating, like you see these stats, but then you got to go get the other books anyway to actually read about their culture and stuff,
mhm.
and you'd want to have images so you know what you're dealing with. So then I started formatting these documents later.
Becomes a whole thing very fast when you're a Star
Yes.
Wars fan. One project spirals out of control, and the next thing you know, you have a species guide on your hands.
Yes. And now we're at what? It's coming up on 400 species in there.
That's
But
crazy.
your document has what, like 700 or something? So
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of work potentially to be done.
Yeah, I'm
And
really excited about the opportunities as ReEx continues to shape because I'm sure people will be inventing their own unique species as it goes along, and, um
faster than we'll be able to write stat blocks for them. I'll tell
yeah,
you that's going to be
very
how that
true.
goes. Cryptic said he's going to include 15 new species in Inmates Odyssey, and I'm just like, can you just
That's a
can you
that's a
please
lot of
use one of the
write-ups.
ones we already have? There's so
Can you
much
use
already
one of
there.
the 800 some species that exist in the Star Wars universe?
Even just take one that's only a name, so it's completely free. You can do whatever you want with them. We just know the name and maybe like one word description that's in a
Yep.
Wikipedia article. You're free to go totally ham. Use one of those. That's fun. I think it's more fun sometimes to flesh things out than expand.
Oh, yeah. I think it's
Anyway,
really fun, especially joining, like, a species in a world. I really enjoy that aspect of it as well.
yes. Or a
As far as
picture and a
the
name.
Yep, yep,
You did
for
a lot of
sure.
work there.
It's really fun to try to make natural connections between them. I mean, I know we've gone back and forth on, like, ideas for some before, and I really enjoy
Yeah.
that, the hunt, the search for the perfect one.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, when you've got some I like or when you're in a story, when you're writing a story and trying to search for like the species that fits the character.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Fits the archetype perfectly, yeah, certainly.
Or doesn't. And then you get the subversion.
And the
Which can be
subverting it,
fun.
yeah.
Um that happens more in your third tale, but before we get into that, you picked up a second tale somewhere in the process there. You got Volvan Rocks.
Yeah,
Uh
I that story's fun, just, kind of fleshing out a no-name character. He really had nothing for him. Um, I believe he was mentioned maybe twice. I think he
yeah,
had an Attack of the Clones visual dictionary, um, mention, or it was complete locations, and then he had a mention on the data bank as well.
Complete
Um,
Locations sounds right. I feel like I've
yeah.
read that name because I Complete Locations had a really good like atta Outlander Club.
Yep, yep, I think it was complete
Yeah,
locations. Yeah, and so it
Yeah.
mentioned that he's the founder of this place. Um, and so I thought that's kind of important
Yeah.
for the storyline of it. And so I just messaged Nick and I was like, would it be okay if I wrote a story about the guy who founded it? And as I was saying that, I was envisioning it being like a 5-page prologue. But as I started writing it, it quickly spiraled out of control because I was having too much
Yeah.
fun writing as Shistavainen.
Yeah.
He's a wolf man, which
Yeah.
was already established, and so I
Oh, it
thought that was
was.
really neat that there was a wolf man running around who created the Outlander Club. I thought that was interesting because they're usually depicted in the EU, with the exception of like Volviv Mon, as being like mercenary types,
Yeah.
scoundrels, bounty hunters, bodyguards. So the fact that he was kind of depicted as almost
Businessman.
a gentleman. He was kind of he was a founder of something. He was an owner. I thought that was interesting, and I was curious to find out more about like kind of why, because that is kind of a subversion in and of itself. But
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to write this character between worlds, who's and then explain why the Bath brothers take over, because that is known that by Attack of the Clones, the Bath brothers are the owners. So what happened to
Yeah.
Volvin? I kind
Yeah.
of wanted to explore some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I suppose it was kind of inevitable to be a Shistavanen with that kind of name. Um,
Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
very similar to Volvif,
yep, yep, very
and
similar.
a little bit similar to Wolf.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can kind of see that in the name. So I wouldn't have been surprised if that was something that you just picked out. But good to know there's a little bit there for you to work with.
yeah.
So you got that, you expanded it. The thing that I was thinking about as I was reading back on it is that the Boonta Eve equivalent to this would have been if the first story in Tales from the Boonta Eve Classic would be the tale of Boonta's Eve.
Yeah.
And like the battle on I think it was Slaharan
Mm,
where Boonta the Hutt rallies his slaves to fight against
right.
him the pot. And now I want to see that story.
That sounds really cool.
Especially now that we've got the Despot trilogy written out,
Right.
which skips over the first part of the Tiny's Hut conflict.
Mm.
So we don't actually know a ton about Boonta's Eve, I don't
There's some
think.
room, it sounds like.
Yeah. With the exception of the fact that we're already on like version 5 of fixing little things in Boonta Eve that I'm probably don't need to keep going back to that one. But yeah. And then Opera House, kind of a similar deal where the first one is sort of a prologue dealing with the concept itself rather than the
Right.
than a character you see.
Yep.
So that's fun. And then writing gore in Star Wars, going back to Wolven Rocks, and I guess a little bit Hat Low,
Mm,
especially,
yeah.
but especially Volvin is the story gets kind of dark. Are you a big like Joe Schreiber kind of guy and
Yes. Yes.
uh
I even
that sort of
enjoy
thing?
Red Harvest, which is the
Yeah.
one that usually gets dogged on, for his 3 novels. I am certainly a fan of Joe Schreiber. Death Troopers was one of the first 10 EU novels that I had and read, and I absolutely loved it. Was I terrified reading it? Yes, I was, like, 13, and I was reading it at night under my sheets,
Oh
sneaking
dang.
up late, and I had a flashlight that was red. It was a red
Oh
flashlight, and so I'm reading it trembling with my red flashlight. I'm absolutely horrified as Chewie watches the zombified Wookiees come for him. There were some terrifying things there, and just the whole
yeah,
idea of just on a prison barge in space floating around, so spooky. But my favorite happens to be Mall Lockdown. I
yeah,
think, that was really fun, and that one's more of just kind of an action gore
yeah,
fest with Darth Maul. I thought it was really cool. The Yuzon Vong fight scene, stuff like that, I really enjoyed,
yeah,
and so, for my stories, I think I was kinda taking cues from writers that I enjoyed, Um, with Hatlow, it fits in that it's like an underworld type of story dealing with criminals and crime syndicates, and so there's naturally going to be some horrendous stuff that occurs. But I think it fit a lot better in Volvin Rox's just because he is a Shistavanian wolfman, and if you don't use his claws and his teeth, then perhaps it was a missed opportunity. Was kind of the way I looked at it, and so
Yeah.
I I wanted to be careful to not go too far and still feel Star Warsy enough, but at the same time, it's kind of a big galaxy, and there are some brutal stuff in there, as Joe Schreiber's kind of
Yeah.
paved the way for.
Yeah. He's sort of like the opposite of Hat Low, where Hat Low is like morally he's completely okay with killing people, but
Mhm.
like in terms of the how the sausage gets made, Hatlow hates all the gory details. And
Yep,
Volvin is just the opposite, where he's
that's right.
totally fine with getting his hands dirty and participating in the gore, but then he's actually like a lot more ethical than Hatlow overall, and he
Yeah.
doesn't actually like the killing in
Y
terms of hurting people.
yeah, he definitely has a conscience. He's like, it's one thing to kill when it's a matter of eating, but
Yeah,
when it's not a matter of just eating for a hunt, he's kinda like, "Why would I do that?" And so I thought it was kinda interesting to develop the kind of gentleman side of him that I kind of inferred based on him being a founder of an establishment in a pretty reputable kind of
yeah,
district of Coruscant. I figured he'd have some moral upstanding to make it to that level, at least to a degree. And so despite like you said, he has all these weapons on him. I mean, he's got built-in claws, he's got these teeth, he's a capable killer. But he doesn't really enjoy it.
yeah,
And yeah, he's quite a mirror for Hatlow there.
yeah. One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting with Volvin Rox's tale is you have a pretty big plot twist in there that I won't go into detail about, but most notably is it's something that Volvin himself knows. Where there's a little bit of a disconnect where the reader and the point of view character aren't sharing knowledge in
Yeah.
this sort of way. That's really tricky to write. I feel like, and I think it worked well, but that's just generally something that feels like it's a little bit breaking the rules almost. So
Yeah.
what made you feel comfortable doing that, and how do you pull that off well?
I I was trying to figure out as I was starting to write it, I had bullet points for the story, and one bullet point that I'm ashamed to admit said, "Reasoning for Volvin to give the club to the Bath brothers." I didn't have it as I sat down to write it.
Oh,
I was, like, racking my brain the whole story, like, was it a double crossing? Like, what causes him to give the club over? And as I was writing, a certain scene, where he goes on his last kill for the brothers, I as I was writing him going there, I was like, "I think I have an idea now."
hmm,
I think and so that's where the character of his adopted son comes from. And so I was trying to figure out how to best do that, and I was like, what if it seems like Volvin's done this thing, and the reader believes he's done this thing because they believe I wouldn't want to depict that necessarily. And it is
yeah,
Star Wars, so I think there is a line there. And so it would just be like the reader's like, oh, he's not crossing that line.
fade to
He
black,
definitely
yeah,
did this. Yeah, fade the black, exactly. And so then later in the story, I also kind of make an insinuation about him being haunted by this as
yeah,
well, but it's not for the
haunted
reasons
in a
the reader
different way.
thinks. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I think it did end up working pretty well overall, but I didn't have that idea going into it. It came to me in the early stages of writing.
huh.
I
Well,
thought
that's
it was kind of
interesting.
natural.
One of the other things that I was wondering where it came in is Sound Dan, holiday special legend. Is
Yeah,
that right? Uh, got a pretty significant role in the story. Um, what excited you so much about him?
I love the holiday special. I must say, I acknowledge it's got so many fatal flaws and horrible decisions, but something about it feels adventurous to me. I think it's because of the early nature of the storytelling. It came out in 78, so just a year after A New Hope. And during that day, the EU in Star Wars was in its infancy, and it felt like it was a wide open galaxy. Like some of the tropes weren't established yet, so
Yeah,
it was just a very open sandbox. And it was that way with the Marvel comics. I mean, that's how we got a giant green space rabbit named Jackson. So it was just an era where there was so much to play with, and things weren't really established yet. Like the
yeah,
original trilogy wasn't done, so they were just throwing stuff at the wall. And to a degree, I think that's super interesting. And so we end up with a lot of wacky and zany concepts in the holiday special. But one that's more grounded is Zondan, who is this traitor, and he's this rebel sympathizer on Kashyyyk, and he's old by the time of the holiday special. And so when I was watching it, I always wondered what his story was. What was his background? Because I mean, it was clear that because of his age, he lived through the Clone Wars and he lived through all these events, the rise of the Empire. So I was always curious, like what his life was, and I like to picture it as like a Boshek or Han Solo type of life. Just he's had all of these
love that you
experiences.
mentioned
He's done.
Boshek before Han Solo.
Oh yeah, well he is. If you read the EU, Boshek is apparently superior to Han Solo for some reason. But I mean, I like to
11
throw that one in there
parsecs.
sometimes. Boshek, the legend. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, I guess I just thought that Zondan had kind of this like sprawling history where he explored the galaxy and has had all these stories. And I mean, in the holiday special, he has all these artifacts from across the galaxy that he's hyping up for the Imperial officer. And I just think he acquired those somewhere. He has a story to each of these things. I think he's a character who's lived a lot of stuff. And so I just thought it was natural to, in his younger day, put him at the center of all of this bustling activity in Coruscant, where he's having all of these experiences. And I also used him as kind of a plot device for exposition because he's
yeah.
such an exuberant character in the holiday special. So I just had him monologuing at times and annoying characters around him because I thought that was a natural way of like in the holiday special when he's just going on and on. I feel like the audience is just watching like this,
And he
like,
goes
when will
on,
this
and then
guy
the
stop?
dude's just like, I hate fish.
Yeah, yeah, I know. He just hypes up this aquarium for forever, and then the guy's like, I hate fish. And so, yeah, I mean, the
Love the
holiday
idea of
special
that
has him
whole
just.
line getting a backstory too.
I know. I'm so excited to see how that develops. That's hilarious. I love that so much. I'm excited to see where that story goes. But I mean, it just Zondan feels like a rambler, a storyteller, and so I just thought he was fun in that he was annoying characters in universe as well in his younger days. And
Yeah,
hey, he made the cover because apparently
he
the
did.
artist was a Zondan fan,
Yeah,
a holiday special guy.
yeah, he's kind of it's kind of him right in the middle, right? Is the
Yep, yep,
well, it's not mirrored. It's
yep.
right
Down
behind
behind
Avita.
Ivita.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I thought. And then finally with Woven Rocks is then that was able to kind of come full circle. It ended up working out really well with the epilogue of the story,
Yes.
which you had pretty significant part in the epilogue, right? I think you wrote a
Yeah, I
couple
wrote
sections of
a
that.
couple sections. Yeah, it was really
Yeah,
fun writing Han. Like he just feels like I think we captured him well. All of the writers wrote Han feeling like Han, and it was just
yeah,
really fun to get to kinda he's a legend, right? He's royalty for Star Wars. So it was
yeah,
pretty fun to get to have a small part in writing a
yeah.
few lines for him.
Yeah, and they kind of treat him like royalty in there because he's just completed his Kessel run.
Yep. Yep.
Except at the same time he's broke and nobody wants to hire him. That's
Yep.
a
It was fun
classic.
because it all spiraled out of that card, right?
Yeah,
The what was it, 1 year earlier? Is that what it was called?
yeah, the 1 year earlier series for A New Hope.
Yeah.
Um,
Just
that
placed Han in the Outlander Club, which
yeah,
I guess makes sense, but it was kind of a cool discovery because I never knew that.
yeah, yeah, and that like and there's just so much from that one little card where like the timing of it and who he's sitting with and
Mhm.
that Dengar's in the background.
Right, yep,
Um,
and it
you,
confirmed Chewie was with him on
yep,
the card as well, yep.
it's like every little detail in that story ended up kind of playing into, or every detail on the card ended up playing into the story.
That card was
Um,
a story, and we kinda just fleshed it out.
yeah, but it really ended up working well with what we had planned with Volven Rocks, and I thought the I thought the ending on that was super satisfying the way that ended up
Certainly.
being able to work out. Um,
I remember the day I read it, like, your draft for, like, your ideas for it, and I just thought it was perfect. The way that it,
yeah,
kind of the epilogue and the prologue were 2 sides of a coin, 2 sides of a story. Uh, that
yeah,
was that was great.
yeah. They really do kind of mirror each other with the chiasm. Um, that's always fun when you can kind of end where you started, right? And that's a classic uh, Joseph Campbell, right? Story circle monomyth
Right.
kind of rule. Um, always fun when you can do that.
Yeah.
I was able to do
And
that real explicitly in my Tuscan tale for Bunta. I don't know if you because right that one starts with Anakin saving him
yes.
uh from the Phantom Menace novelization and
Mhm.
then ends with Anakin killing him.
Yep, meeting his fate by his blue blade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, we got to see uh I guess we didn't kill off any Bath brothers in that story, but it was getting to see kind of how Volvin's grandkids end up was
Yeah.
cool.
It was really fun because then it feels more important that Volvin saves his eventual adopted son, and then his
Yeah.
grandkids are able to redeem, the backstabbing of the Baths to take the club
Yeah.
from him and, bring it back to its rightful owners. I
Yeah.
definitely think it worked really well.
Yeah, it really did. And then so somewhere in there you also found time to write a third or sort of fourth tale if you count
Yeah.
the epilogue is you got Yi Mo. And as I recall, that's I think that's got to be the biggest um, resume of writing credits that anybody's had in any of these anthologies to do three stories that were totally your own. I don't think anybody else has ever done.
And I don't think it was a plan either. I just, one day, with the Yemo story, there was another writer attached,
Yep.
and
Well, there
whatever
were
happened, and
yeah.
it fell through, and I was sitting there one day after I was editing stories, I was reading through stories, and then usually I'll just look back at the cover in the Discord, I'll just pull it up and look at it because the covers from Bry are just absolutely gorgeous. And as I was looking at it and thinking about the story that got cut, I looked and saw that the character was on the cover, I believe bottom right,
I think yeah. Bottom left.
bottom left. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
It is.
Yemo and
It
another
is.
Neomoidian.
Yep.
And I was just
Me
thinking,
too.
it's a shame that that story is cut when the character's on the cover. So I already knew that we were getting near our word count. So I was like, maybe if I make this as brief as possible, and I think I kept it like eight pages, somewhere in
Sounds about
there,
right.
somewhat
On
somewhat short. So
on
I kind of
table of
wrote it
contents.
just to see if y'all liked it, because I was thinking the characters on the cover, and it was, I think the story was fine. Was not very good. It read like a Wikipedia article, and you had the idea to rewrite it in first person, and I
I
think
did.
that that worked really well and had a lot of emotional resonance. So I think that was a really good move, a really good suggestion from you, because then you resonate a lot more with the character, the way it's written, and it's able to vocalize his thoughts a lot more. And I just thought it would be fun to subvert Neomoidian cowardice and self-centeredness with his character, and kind of explain what's he doing on Coruscant, because
Yeah.
he certainly had the appearance of the Trade Federation Neomoidian officers who fought at Naboo. And
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah,
fun.
he did. And then like you said, it really did subvert the expectations uh of Nemoidian culture. Hatlow's more a Nemoidian than he is.
Yeah,
Um
yeah, very true.
but
And Hat Low
was
has
there
Corellian blood from Ivita's tale, with
Oh
his
really?
father being a Corellian immigrant. So it's
Oh,
very impressive, the levels of
and
Hatlow's, I
then
guess, learned anxiety.
and then you got yeah, you didn't establish anything with Ryder Lowe's being Corellian. That wasn't in Woven Rocks. I mean, obviously you had quite a bit with Ryder Lowe being
Yeah.
brought up a couple times in Woven Rocks. That was a cool connection
I thought it
between
would
the
be
two.
kind of cool to use Volvin, since it was a prologue, to set up multiple stories. So I kind of
Yeah,
alluded to like Ganwick Trag, Buffin Tear, Hatlow.
yeah.
Trying to think if there were any others. I feel like there's a
Oh, I
few I'm
should have broke
missing.
some of these down. Yeah, I was seeing all kinds of stuff. Um,
Ellen Sleazabaggino's, like when he
oh
shows
yeah,
up.
you did.
Um, I thought it was gonna be kind of fun to like allude to how the club becomes like it is by Attack of the Clones.
You had
How
like you
some of
even
those
had the
characters start showing up.
yeah, you even had the backstory for Hatlow's Rhodian Tix dude.
Yes,
Right, you had
yes.
his
His
parents
yeah, his uncle Wilkes. Yeah,
or his uncle, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
There was a
really
lot of stuff where I just wanted to kind of foreshadow stuff that would happen later, because I thought it would make it a more rewarding experience to read it that way.
sure.
Um, to kind of that stuff. I like the idea that the Outlander Club's a very like kind of, as I was writing my tales and I was reading everyone else's, I just got this kind of idea that it was a bubble almost
Small world.
of just bustling activity, and kind of a self-contained pocket within Coruscant. And I think
Yeah.
all of the stories kind of capture that vibe across the tale. Kind of like this is just this
Yeah.
one center for all of these characters.
Yeah, they just live here.
Yeah, they basically just live there. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Similar to Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah. Was there any ways though in which Yi Mo, going back to that, you felt like retained his Nemoidian-ness? Or
Mm,
ways in which it was just sort of manifested in different ways?
yeah, I think he starts off a bit more Neomoidian, where he's kind of like, this is the way of things. I'm accepting things for how they are. Um, and then that pivots halfway through the story when they play the blame game, as Neomoidians tend to do, and they tend to backstab. And that kind of forced him out of his shell, to where he'd been questioning Neomoidian culture and like, this, why are we the way we are? And that made him fully against, fully anti. But I think at the beginning he reads a little bit more like a Neomoidian who's just kind
Yeah,
of questioning his people. Then by the end he's almost human in some of his sensibilities. He's just very opposed to his own people, to his own culture. Um, but in
sure.
the beginning, I think just kind of his shared background, and he's kind of, I think I wrote him almost like how some of the soldiers in World War II who followed the German regime. There were some who didn't like it, and they kind of had to go along with it, and that's kind of how I pictured Emo, with Newt Gunray being kind of the Fuhrer, I guess, I guess of Star Wars for Emo. He's just a foot soldier
Sure.
who has to go along with the atrocities that he recognizes.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I was going through back in I looked through in our chat of how that story was coming about. So you really asked forgiveness rather than asked permission on adding that one.
Yeah, I kind of just wrote it, I guess, and it
And then it worked
yeah,
eventually.
yeah. And
Apparently,
it wouldn't have worked if it wasn't in first person.
yeah.
But now that it is, I actually think it might be the strongest of the 3,
Huh.
in terms of emotional resonance. It definitely has an emotional core that my other
Sure.
stories are kind of more world building, kind of,
Yeah.
padding out references, and Yemo's kind of more a departure from my style.
Yeah.
And I owe that to you. You really brought out the best in that story.
Yeah, I was looking at that and then I just found this where apparently it was also my idea to have the Nemoidians play more of a blame game
Yeah, yeah,
after Naboo.
worked so well.
Yes. And then I just found I shared this meme where they say we investigated ourselves and found no
So funny.
wrongdoing. It's
And
so
that's just
great.
totally what would have happened too.
It's so great when you make memes and then you forget them so you can like
Laugh at
rediscover
your
them
own
for the
meme.
first time. Yes. I was glad I
Yeah,
was able to go back and see that.
that's
Um,
hilarious. Yeah.
and then amidst all of these stories that you're doing, at some point you got on to be an editor. Do you remember exactly how you got that gig?
Yeah, I remember Nick randomly asked me one day because I think honestly it's just because I was trying to coordinate and connect to a lot of stories. So for Outlander, for for Bunta, I hadn't really read any story except Ben Quadaneros's and I think maybe Nick's Sebulba tale.
Okay.
And that was it until after. I didn't read it until the full thing was out.
Hmm.
And so with Outlander, I was kind of had a more active interest because I wanted to be more referential because I kind of wrote Bull's Roar in collaboration with my friend Marcel, because we've been good friends
Oh
for
yeah.
years, and so we wrote a scene where they go back and forth. So it was natural to connect to that. But aside from that, I was kind of removed from the overall writing process until I got brought in for Quinlan's. And so with Outlander, I'd had so much fun just kind of going back and forth with Nick and Tuck and all of those guys where I was like, I want to do that more. I want to be more involved in the community aspect here. I think it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity to just invest in other people and invest in these stories. And so I started just reading other tales and like Mortis's I Vita tale, um, Francesca's Ganwick tale, my brother's Buffin tale. I did I connect to Marcel's in that one? I don't
You
know. I
featured
I did a
Ahmed
little
Beck
bit. Yeah,
in Hatlow. Yeah, that's another moment with Hatlow's haughtiness where like he's basically the only one. Oh no, it's him and Anyat Kanavar. We
yeah,
wrote the two characters that are actually fooled by the fake policeman bit that they
yeah.
do. I think everybody else just laughs at those guys.
Yes, I
Like
know.
Okie Dokes is immediately on to them, and like
Yep.
everybody else that ever talks to Fatoni or Medbeck, they're like, "Look at these clowns,"
Look at these phonies. Yeah, I know.
and it's Anyat Kanavar doing his uh, horrendously wrong investigation, and uh, Hatlow and his genius intellect
Yeah.
who can't figure it out and just assume they're real cops.
Mhm. Certainly. They both kind of have a an overconfidence to them,
Yeah,
in those stories as well. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they do. But I'm definitely glad you ended up on the editing team there because I do recall that was probably of the three books, I think Outlander was pretty easily my worst performance in terms of falling behind with stuff and not editing as much as I should. I think I was reviewing a lot of those stories only a few months before they came out on the deadline, and I was doing more basic stuff on the punctuation side of things. But I
It was
I, I do
overwhelming because a lot of people were late for those
yeah.
stories, and
Well,
there
every
were there was a big
anthology.
bulk of those stories too. They were pretty long, a lot of them, and
Yeah,
very involved continuity-wise with each other, which made it a lot of, like, kinda hassle to figure out, sort them, see where it
yeah,
flows, and all of that.
yeah, yeah. I just remember with like, I mean, you and Mortis both stepped up in a big way there for making sure that everything worked because I was yeah pretty late to the party, and I would I'd see these messages of like, wow, you're really doing a better job than I am of keeping everybody on track, and then you were awarded with that editor role
Yeah,
formally,
I
and
was honored that
yeah,
Nick asked me. I was kinda like, "Really, me?" Because I thought you guys were doing a tremendous job, you and Nick. I mean, you guys always brought the best out of my stories, I thought, and really guided them in a I that's one thing I really appreciate about y'all. You do a really good job in, like, not stepping on the toes of the artistic vision that the author has, but also you're an editor. You shape and guide the story in a really positive direction. And so I really appreciate that about y'all.
yeah. Well, thank you. We try. Um, it's a tough balance. Sometimes I feel like I'm too lax, and sometimes I'm too mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. Depends on my mood. Um, but every once in a while I come up with a good suggestion. I think though I think these interviews are overall like giving people a distorted view of my role as an editor because as I like as I think about these, it seems like all of the biggest changes that I was responsible for are the
Me
stories
and
we end
Nick.
up talking on. Yeah, yes. But like I didn't do it's not just you personally, because like I didn't really change anything major in your Bulls Roar story. Or like I didn't change anything major in Nick's Outlander Club story. But it's like specifically the ones
The
we
ones we're
interviewed
talking
where
about.
it's like I wrote this whole Sebulba ending, or I came up with the whole Sebulba ending, and I like and the um yeah, the stuff with changing up Emo and cutting a big part of Hatlow.
Yeah.
Um, there, not a lot of the other stories got that much significant changes on my end. But then, would you say that it was mostly while you were writing your stories that you were editing, that you were going into other people's tales and finding these things to connect, or was it more after the fact that as you were doing some of these editing work, then you were finding things to kind of put back into your stories?
Yeah, I'd say it was a mix of both, but at the beginning, I was in contact with, I think, Ganwick's author, Dixon Just, Pico. I was in contact with him. I just remembered the big, role with him in that's alluded to in Hat Low, how he's with Volvin, and then in Volvin, it kind of fleshes out how they meet each other, and Pico's tale was phenomenal. I thought that was really good. Um, it kind of tells the story of Volvin's like this shadowy figure who employs him, and he does
Oh
what he
yeah,
has to.
where
I
he's
thought that
like
was
the
a really fun
droid
one.
tech guy, right?
That's Civcilla.
Oh, or I
Dixon
mean,
was friends with him though.
but he's like a spy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he does have a droid workshop. Yeah,
he has a droid.
like
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
He has a droid workshop, and then he kind of like when people loan him their droids, he like gleans information from them
Yep,
or
yep.
something. Yeah,
He
yeah,
becomes an informant. Yeah,
yeah. Yep, yep, yep. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what
So
it is.
I was kind of in communication with Pico really early on, with Francesca, with actually with Mortis. I think she. I don't think we talked very much. Actually, she just kind of referenced mine because the characters know each other, and then I
Yeah,
read hers, and afterwards I was like, oh, there's a lot of good stuff here that I can like strengthen by changing it in mine to align more
yeah.
with hers. And so I think it was a natural mix. Like I was seeking out people to have cross references with at the beginning in drafting our stories, and then at the end, I was just reading all of these other stories when they were finished, and then I'd see something I liked, and I was like, well, we could work that in. And
Yeah.
so it ultimately ended up being kind of a complex tapestry of references between all of these stories. Is this one maybe the most self-referential volume, do you think, where all of these stories kind of connected?
Um,
Because Bunta
I
had a lot of
Boonta
connections.
Boonta had a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
especially between, like, the Quinlan Aura type of stories with, Key and stuff like that.
to Eve. I wrote down a list when I was doing the Boonta editing. I wrote down a list of connections because they'd all be relevant for the ordering.
Right,
So in Boonta Eve, there's this story of Arc Roos sabotaging Quadaneros, um,
right.
which Dud Bolt hires him to do. Um, and you get Dud's perspective of he tells Roos to sabotage somebody else, and then you get Roos's perspective of finding that he did the wrong pod racer because he's on the drugs, and then of course that impacts Quadaneros.
Mhm.
Um,
And Quadaneros is referenced in Bowls.
yep, Quadaneros and Bulls have the big thing. Uh, Roos and Mahonic both deal with the Queval Dar. Um, and the Mandos show up in both those and then end up
Right.
together on Camino. Gardula and Nevaki are kind of interconnected because, right, dealing with Gardula
That's
being
right.
alive, and Gardula shows up in that one. Clegg Holdfast basically spoils every single story where he just reads people's minds and thinks about what they're going on, particularly Deadbolt and Cam Nail.
Oh, and a
Um,
lot referenced Zelbreeze as well. There
yep,
were a few stories that mentioned his.
Beto being alive for a long time is kind of a spoiler for the Cam Nail story.
Mm.
Um, Although that wasn't like a necessarily direct reference. The Tuscan's Tale and Nevaki's Tale both involve this incident where Aura Singh kills a bunch of Tuscans.
Yep.
Um, Singh and Nevaki both feature. Um, I don't think Aura Singh's tale itself involves her killing the Tuscans, though.
Mm.
Um, Even though that's kind of the same time.
Aura's was called
Bulba,
Sandsong, right?
yeah,
Sandsong?
yep.
Yep.
Sebulba and Nevaki both deal with that Racer Revenge plotline where there's a, 8 years after Bunta. That's
Yep.
what sparks the Nevaki investigation is there because they're doing the Bunta rematch. Um, Team Toe and Luke kind of tie together where I think that's the reason that Luke goes back to Tatooine. Um, Rur and Voss have a scene together.
Oh, that's right, I forgot about that one.
You did that. Voss and Singh, obviously.
Yep, yep.
Bolzrur's story kind of explains Quadaneros, and there's a Gasgano and Mahonic fight scene that you see from both sides. So
Yeah,
Boonta
tons of
has a
stuff.
pretty good case, I think, for being the most interconnected.
Yeah.
But
All these
that's kind of forced
volumes.
on it because of pod racing tales set up
Oh,
some of
yeah.
those. Um, that's the thing for me with the interconnections is like I'm pretty good at referencing things that already exist. I'm very bad at collaborating with people and referencing things that are being written at the same time as me. Like one of these days, like if I could do all my edits, if I could write an Opera House story now, oh, it would be so interconnected, like it would involve so many things. But when those stories don't exist yet, they just like they don't show up. And once I've got my outline written and I've got my first draft written, like I can never think of ways to go back
Mm.
and add those things in.
I
So
was
so you're
actually really
flex.
thrilled that Gand is going to be a reference
Oh
between
yes.
stories in the future. I'm excited about that one. I think that one works really well. I
Yeah.
was excited that that kind of naturally
Yeah, he's
happened.
got, I'm trying to think. So yeah, there's one Clone Wars era story. His origin is actually completely unpublished. There's a Clone Wars story that I started working on maybe 5 years ago.
Mm,
That was Gan's inclusion. And then the second thing I wrote for him was the From a Legend's Point of View story.
mm,
Um, that was re-including that. Um, and then Opera House.
yeah.
But yeah, the first one never even got done.
It's like a Typho Gem thing where
Yeah.
supernatural encounters establish him, but didn't get published, and so he shows up in the Book of Sith.
Yes. Any other any other favorite stories that you found in your editor time that you want to give a shout out to now?
Yeah, there's so many good tales. Sorry, you can hear that thunder booming where I'm at.
Mm, we got snow up here. No
Snow.
rainstorms.
Yeah, yeah, we've got a thunderstorm going on. That was kind of ominous, right? When you mentioned
Yeah.
favorite stories, it just clapping thunder booms and rolls. There's so many good stories. For to touch on Boonta real quick, so many good stories. I think Zelbreeze was a really strong one. I like the philosophical core at its nature of kind of like, who am I?
Yeah.
Is what the shapeshifter's asking himself, and I thought that was beautiful, absolutely beautiful artistic story. Um, in Outlander, there's so many good tales like Ganwick Trag's story. The ending
Yep.
is just chilling, and I think it got picked up in someone else's and maybe Cryptix's
Yeah.
picked that up and mentioned it briefly, maybe.
Maybe.
And
Um,
then Phaetoni and Medbeck's tale is just pure comedy.
yes.
It's so much fun. It's hilarious. Their duo's amazing.
I feel like
Um,
Cryptics messed with the Ganwick, the Trag thing where he like had him alive, and I was kind of mad about that.
yeah, where he was like in a wasn't he like zapped? Yeah, his mind was like zapped when he showed him. He was like a shell of himself.
Yeah,
Yeah, I remember
but no,
that.
I was because kind of was kind of paging through Outlander Club to prepare for this, and yeah, I reread. I just saw that first line of Ganwick Trag just always gets me, where um, do you remember that line
I can't
that
recall the
that
line off the
that
top of my head.
Cryptics very first sentence, Ganwick Trag is a fun guy.
Oh yeah, so good. You don't even realize it's foreshadowing until you get to like halfway through the story.
And
The fact that he's
I
just
didn't even
fit
realize
because
it was
he
foreshadowing until like the last page. I was
yeah,
so oblivious.
it's so good.
I read that
And
one.
I love that story. I think it's
Oh,
like at first it feels like there's not much going on, and then it gets deeper the more you think about it. And it's
yeah,
really a horror story, honestly, about what lurks in the Coruscant
it is.
stairwells.
Yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's so
I
much
think
fun. The fact that you take the guy who's buff and you explain that he's fit because he just runs the stairwells instead of using the hollow lifts. I thought that was
Lifts.
absolutely genius and
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah, I think I need to include the Weirotid in something in the future.
Yeah,
It
such
should
a
maybe
unique
should
species.
have made an Opera House
'Cause
appearance.
they come from complete locations, don't they? Like,
Yeah,
their depiction of the Outlander Club?
it's such a like random reference. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those just like huge like lore bomb drops of like, oh yeah, Coruscant has this species of like sentient fungus predators that take on human form
Yeah,
and just refuses to elaborate further.
and then just places them in the Outlander Club, and that's it. It's just like, move on. Nothing to see here, move along." Like,
Yep.
it's crazy. I'm so glad that, Francesca picked up on that for,
Yeah.
Ganwick's Tale. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we got about 10 minutes here. Trying to be respectful of your time. So maybe moving on to the final release of this story. Did you have a lot much in particular that you were doing with either the formatting or the AO3 side of things, or the publicity, I think was kind of your main role at the end there. You did a little
Yeah.
bit with using your YouTube channel, is that right?
Yeah, I wanted more people to find these stories. So, I haven't had the time yet, but something I'd really love to do, I think it would be fun to do, like, a book club series of streams. And I've kinda had that on the table for a long time, and I know, my friend Alex kinda did that more where I think he read Dud Bolt, and he read Bull's Roar, and he read Ben Quaderneros, like, on stream and, like,
Huh,
reacted to it live. Um,
interesting. I
so
gotta
that's
check
a
that
fun one
out.
if you wanna go check that out. And then I promoted, uh, Boonta Eve when it came
Yep,
out. I, like, made
you did more with
2
that.
videos about it, and people were really excited about it in the comments. There were people who, of course, were Rex people who were just celebrating, and then there were some people who hadn't heard of it and who were
Hmm.
really excited about it. And I noticed that when the Rex channel went up, I kind of reposted it to my YouTube community page, and I got messages from like 2 or 3 people who were like really excited about it.
Huh,
So I think it's cool because Rex has obviously gotten a huge audience and doesn't need me, but um, everyone kinda has
he's
their
got
own
more
little area of
subscribers
the
than we do.
fandom. Yeah, yeah, but everyone kinda has their own little, like, niche of the fandom, in, like, different circles, so I think it's really fun to, like, kind of expose other circles to Rex, 'cause I think Rex will end up being one of the I mean, for me right now, it's one of the biggest parts of the fandom, that I'm probably
Yeah,
actively involved in, and I think
for
it's
sure
really
for
good.
me.
It's a really good initiative, and it's given me a lot of purpose, and I feel like a lot of, like, direction
Yeah,
for what I want to do with my spare time.
yeah. It's maybe controversial to say, but I almost feel like this is my favorite era of Star Wars in terms of real time, where
'Cause you're an active part of shaping it.
yeah, it's it's more fun to have
Mm.
that role. Um, as much as I love, now to say if Disney, hired Christy Golden to do Sword of the Jedi tomorrow, would I be excited? Obviously. But
Yeah, yeah,
there'd be a part of me that would be a little sad. There'd be a
yeah,
part of me that would be like, all of our everything we write is now like subject to be decanonized by some future story.
yeah,
And but as long as Disney's not doing any new EU content, that's really not the case, where we've got,
yeah.
kind of free reign
Free
to be,
jurisdiction on an entire universe, full
yeah,
continuity to play with.
it's cool.
It is, certainly.
Okay. And then to conclude everything, I need you to give me a letter of the alphabet.
Mm, we'll
What do
go
I
with
get?
A.
Okay. The reason I ask is because you and I are probably known as the top two species experts within ReExpanded. So I figured I'd like to issue an official challenge here to name species starting with the letter A. We'll take turns and see who can
Oh,
go
that's so
longer.
fun.
And if I feel like you're gonna win,
I don't know,
and
it's
and
anyone's
if you
game.
do, this is for the re-expanded species expert title
For the
for
title,
for the title.
the first annual
Yes.
championship of ReEx species.
Um, so I'll start off with Ang T.
Good shout. I'll go Abu Ghardi,
Oh, of course.
from
Yep,
Dark
we were just
Empire.
talking about those. Give me the Adarians.
The Advos say, I think that's
Oh,
how you
yep.
pronounce it.
The you just said, the Abyssins.
The Abyssins, yeah. The, Abinyashi,
Oh, yeah. Elzarian.
Alzarian. Ooh, that's a
You
good one.
mentioned those
Yeah,
in
from Droids.
yep.
The, Arcanians.
Oh, duh. The Aru.
A.
They're kind of bird people. They look a little bit. They got the red eyes and blue skin, a little Duros-esque.
Yeah, right. Um, the um, does it count to name one that um is a creation?
Oh, go ahead.
The they're on the list. The Aberek Fudsang
Oh yeah.
species.
Um, the Anomids.
Oh shoot! Of course, the anomids. The
Oh, there's a
I
really
might
obvious one we've been missing.
I might be running out. I'm trying to think of movie species now. I feel like there's an obvious movie species that I'm forgetting. Um, the I said Arcanian. I might be out. The Alishanian.
Oh dang, I don't know that one. I'll take your word for it.
Supernatural
Uh,
encounters.
okay. The Arcona.
Yep, there's the movie species I was forgetting. The I might be out. I might be out. The None's coming to mind right now. I should have done my homework. Um,
I've got at least two.
you've got two? Oh, let me rack my brain. You said Ang T, right?
Yep.
That was the first one.
Yep. I don't know how that was the first one that came to mind.
They're a really cool race.
Yeah.
Did I say Alzarian already?
I did.
You said
they were
Alzarian.
in your because they were in your
In the
tale.
story, yeah. There's some near humans that I'm forgetting.
Probably.
There's one on the tip of my tongue. It's a blue species.
I don't know if I know these guys.
I might be fresh out.
Okay. I'm
Name
gonna
your
go
two.
with the Ara, the snake people that
Yes.
I added for your species guide. And I was thinking of, oh, now I just forgot the one. The Amanin from
Oh,
Meridoon.
and I just remembered Adarians.
I thought I said those.
Oh, did you say Adarian?
I think
You
so.
probably did.
I think I pronounced it Adarian, but yeah.
Oh yeah, so you did.
Yep. Let me look
Well,
at, or should we look at our species guide and see
oh
how many
yeah.
we
See how
missed?
many we
This is
missed.
gonna be bad.
Great. Oh yeah. Oh,
Um,
Aligar, Ara, Eris, Arwen, Abominor,
oh, the Abominor.
Adnarem, Adnarem.
Adnarim. Oh, those are so fun. I want to include one of those guys in How Liberty
Yeah,
Dies.
they're super cool. With the
I
like
love
cone
their
head.
culture was really interesting with
Oh,
this character.
man, I forgot some really good ones.
The
Aeon the
Aquarians.
Aquin.
Guys, we missed the Alina.
Oh my goodness, the Alina,
There's a movie
another
species.
movie species.
We missed the
Amphihydrus,
Anks. We missed the
the
Anzadi. Guys,
Ang
we missed Aqualish.
Anzadi, the Amphihydrus. That's one of my the Anudots. We could have said either
We missed
prime or blue.
Arachlia, Ascagian, Asogian.
How about that? We said Argazden, didn't we? Oh no, we didn't.
Argazden, I did not. We said Elzarian.
Oh man.
Oh, and the Amorphian being from Holiday Special.
Yes.
There we go.
There's the Alishanian from World of
Anyway,
Fire. That's where they came from. I couldn't remember that. The
all right.
Assemblers.
Oh, yep.
Oh man.
Okay. So we both have
Hey,
much to learn.
apparently so. We should do this
You
again sometime.
too can be declared the re-expanded species expert if
We
you've
should
heard of an
send out the
obscure
link and
species
issue a
that
challenge.
we don't know, such as the Aqualish.
We were thinking I feel like we were thinking in such obscure depths. Like we were running through the Rolodex of like
We missed Aqualish,
alien
Angst,
encounters.
Alina, and Zot.
We forgot like the obvious ones from the films. We were going so in depth.
And you missed Arcona too. Like that
Oh
one.
my goodness, that's such an obvious one.
Yeah.
Oh my
Anyway,
goodness. Yeah. Hey, that was fun.
That was fun. We'll have to do it. We'll have to do a
We'll
different
have to do
letter
it
at
with
some
bees
point in the
sometime, just go
future.
through them.
Well, yeah. See, the thing is I didn't want to say, because I knew if I picked out a letter beforehand, like I would spend like two
Do
days
your
thinking
research.
about it.
Yeah.
And now I'll be thinking about bee species. Like now I'll be ready to go. And
Dude, now I'm
I'll
gonna be thinking about A species for a while.
okay.
The Arwen, that's one of my favorites. They're the ones that were referenced in Deborah Chester's Alien trilogy. They were created there. They were like
Huh.
a
They're
dog species,
supernatural
and then Wizards of the
encounters.
Coast mentioned it in the Unknown Regions source book.
Huh. Okay.
That was a really interesting one because it was a reference to something outside of Star Wars. Kind
Yeah.
of unique, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, we've been going for an hour and a half. You got things to get to, so I probably should not take up any more of your time, but this was a blast. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on. Thank you so much
Thank you for
for
having me.
everything you've done in all three of these anthologies, and we are absolutely looking forward to your future work and everything that you've got planned in the future, particularly with that species guide or even some novels. Although I don't think we have too much time to talk about that. We'll just leave it as a little
Yeah.
tease for our listeners.
Mm.
So, although if they show up on the ReExpanded Discord, they can maybe find out a
They can
little bit
figure it
more.
out pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you very much. Have a good one, everybody.